Hello everyone, and welcome to the Ben 10 What Ifs. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Ben 10 shared the Omnitrix with Naruto, the Shinobi of 1,000 aliens Naruto. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. Convergence Point. The forest outside Konoha shimmered with an unnatural light, casting wavering shadows across the ancient trees. Naruto Uzumaki crouched on a high branch, his black and orange jacket discarded hours ago in favor of stealth. 3 days of tracking this strange energy signature had led him here, to this clearing where reality itself seemed to bend and warp. "Whatever you are," he whispered, "you picked the wrong village to mess with." The air crackled with electricity, raising the fine hairs on his forearms. Something was coming through, something that didn't belong in this world. Naruto formed a familiar hand seal, the movement so ingrained it required no conscious thought. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 2 perfect duplicates materialized beside him in puffs of smoke, each wearing the same expression of determined focus. With a silent nod, they separated, flanking the anomaly from different angles. Years of combat had taught Naruto the value of reconnaissance before engagement. The distortion expanded suddenly, pulsing with green and purple energy. Naruto narrowed his eyes, channeling chakra to his feet as he secured his position on the branch. The forest fell silent. No birds, no insects. As if all of nature held its breath. Then it tore open. The rift split the air like a wound, revealing a swirling vortex of stars and darkness. A figure tumbled through, hitting the ground hard and rolling to a defensive crouch in one fluid motion. Human, or at least humanoid, male, dark hair, green jacket. And something on his wrist that glowed with the same energy as the portal. "Great," the newcomer muttered, brushing dirt from his clothes. "Another unscheduled interdimensional field trip. Grandpa Max is going to kill me." Naruto signaled his clones to hold position. This stranger wasn't moving like a threat, but something about him radiated power, different from chakra but no less potent. The portal flared again, disgorging 3 crystalline creatures with razor-sharp limbs before collapsing into nothingness. Unlike the human, these beings moved with obvious hostile intent, immediately focusing on the newcomer. "Petrosapiens. Seriously?" The stranger sighed, twisting a dial on the device strapped to his wrist. "Don't you guys ever take a day off?" The device flashed green, and where the human had stood now towered a massive creature composed of red rock and magma. Fire erupted from its hands as it charged the crystal beings. "Heat blast." The flaming giant's voice boomed across the clearing. "Let's see how you like a little temperature shock." Naruto's eyes widened. This was no transformation jutsu. The chakra signature had completely changed, becoming something alien and unfamiliar. He'd never sensed anything like it. The crystal creatures scattered iron shards from their arms that the fire being melted midair. One creature flanked right, heading toward Naruto's position. Decision time. Naruto dropped from the branch, landing silently behind the crystal attacker. "Hey, rock face," he called out, forming a swirling sphere of chakra in his palm. "You're trespassing in the land of fire." The creature whirled, surprised by this new threat. He hesitated just long enough for Naruto to close the distance. Rasengan. The spiraling chakra sphere slammed into the crystalline body, grinding against its surface before finding purchase. Cracks spread outward from the point of impact like a spiderweb, and the creature shattered into 1,000 glittering fragments. The flame being, Heat Blast, paused mid-battle, clearly surprised by Naruto's intervention. That moment of distraction cost him as one of the remaining attackers landed a solid blow, sending him crashing into a tree trunk. "Pay attention to your own fight," Naruto shouted, Ed moving to engage the second creature. His shadow clones converged from their hiding spots, one transforming into a massive shuriken that the original Naruto hurled with deadly precision. Heat Blast recovered quickly, unleashing a concentrated flame that superheated one crystal attacker until it glowed white-hot. Then, with a gesture, he rapidly cooled it, causing the creature to crack and crumble from thermal shock. The final attacker, seeing its companions defeated, attempted to flee. It didn't get far. "Oh no you don't." Heat Blast created a wall of flame that cut off its escape. At the same time, Naruto's thrown shadow clone turned shuriken transformed back midair, grabbing the creature from behind. Now, the clone shouted. Naruto and Heat Blast struck simultaneously, Rasengan from one side, concentrated flame from the other. The crystalline being disintegrated between these opposing forces, leaving nothing but glittering dust. Silence fell over the clearing. Naruto's clone dispelled itself as the original cautiously faced the fire being, ready to defend or attack as needed. So, Naruto said, keeping his distance, want to explain what you're doing in Fire Country territory? And maybe what you actually are. Quote, the fiery creature's flames receded slightly as it studied him. You know, most people run away screaming when they see me like this. You just jumped right into the fight. A flash of green light enveloped it, and the human form returned, looking at Naruto with newfound respect. I'm Ben Tennyson. And you are Naruto Uzumaki, Shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto didn't relax his stance. That doesn't answer my question. Ben held up his hands in a placating gesture. Look, I'm just as confused as you are. 1 minute I'm fighting those Petrosapians near a temporal disturbance in my world, the next I'm here. Wherever here is your world. Naruto's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Before Ben could answer, the air between them shimmered again. This time, the distortion was smaller, more controlled. A diminutive gray figure materialized, barely reaching Naruto's knee, with bulbous green eyes and an expression of profound irritation. Of course I find you in the middle of this catastrophe, Tennyson, the small being said, his voice surprisingly authoritative for his size. When reality starts breaking down, you're never far away. Azimuth. Ben blinked in surprise. What are you doing here? Preventing the collapse of multiple dimensions, apparently. The being called Azimuth turned to Naruto, studying him with unnerving intensity. Interesting. A human energy manipulator. Your world has developed quite differently than Tennyson's. Naruto had seen many strange things in his life, but a talking frog-sized owl lion appearing out of thin air still ranked high on the list. Who? What are you? I am Azimuth of the Galvan, the greatest intellect in 5 galaxies, and creator of the Omnitrix. He gestured to the device on Ben's wrist. And we have a serious problem that concerns both your worlds. Naruto crossed his arms. I'm listening. The dimensional barriers are fracturing, Azimuth explained. That fort wasn't an isolated incident, it's happening across multiple realities. My instruments detected a particular convergence point between your world and Ben's. Why these 2 worlds specifically? Ben asked. Azimuth's expression darkened. Because someone is deliberately targeting them. The energy signature suggests a combination of Chronosapian technology and something unfamiliar. Something from this world. Chakra. Naruto supplied, the implications sinking in. Someone's combining your technology with our chakra. Precisely. Azimuth nodded. And the results could destabilize the multiverse if not contained. A twig snapped at the edge of the clearing. In an instant, Naruto had a kunai in hand, while Ben's hand hovered over the Omnitrix. A pink-haired woman stepped into view, her green eyes taking in the scene with clinical precision. Naruto, she called out, Tsunade sent me to check on you. You missed your scheduled report. Her gaze shifted to Ben and Azimuth, narrowing with suspicion. I see why. Sakura. Naruto relaxed slightly but didn't lower his guard completely. Good timing. We have a situation. Sakura Haruno approached cautiously, her stance deceptively casual. Naruto knew better. She could shatter the ground beneath them with a single punch if she deemed it necessary. That's an understatement, she said, assessing the strangers. Care to introduce your new friends? After brief introductions and a condensed explanation, Sakura's expression grew serious. We need to report this to Lady Tsunade immediately. If what they're saying is true. It is, Azimuth interrupted. And we don't have time for bureaucratic delays. The next convergence is already building, and it will be larger than the last. As if on cue, the air began to distort again, several meters away from their position. This time, the energy signature was stronger, the distortion more violent. That can't be good, Ben muttered, activating the Omnitrix interface. We need to stabilize it, Azimuth said urgently. Tennyson, use feedback. His energy absorption might contain the rift long enough for me to analyze it. Ben nodded, selecting an alien form from the holographic display. The transformation was instant, his human form replaced by a black and green creature with plugs on his fingertips and long antennae. Feedback. The new form immediately extended his appendages toward the growing rift, drawing energy from it in visible currents of electricity. What can we do? Naruto asked, not content to stand idle. Azimuth studied him thoughtfully. Your energy, chakra, you called it, might help stabilize the reaction. Can you channel it in a controlled manner? Sakura stepped forward. I have more precise chakra control than Naruto. Tell me what you need. Create a containment field, Azimuth instructed. Visualize it as a barrier around the rift, but permeable enough for feedback's absorption to continue. Sakura nodded, concentrating as her hands began to glow with blue-green chakra. She moved with surgical precision, weaving a net of energy around the distortion while Ben continued drawing power from it. It's fighting me, Ben grunted, his form struggling to contain the increasing flow. There's something else coming through. The rift pulsed, expanding despite their efforts. A dark shape loomed within the swirling energy, something massive trying to force its way through. We need more power, Azimuth shouted. Naruto didn't hesitate. He closed his eyes, connecting to the natural energy around him. His features shifted subtly as he entered Sage mode, orange pigmentation appearing around his eyes. Sakura, hold the barrier. He called out, forming a complex series of hand seals. I'm going to reinforce it with nature energy. He slammed his palm to the ground, creating a series of chakra seals that radiated outward toward the rift. The symbols glowed gold as they intercepted Sakura's barrier, strengthening it with Senjutsu chakra. Ben's feedback form began to overload, crackling with excess energy. Can't hold much more, he warned, his voice strained. You don't need to hold it, Azimuth replied, manipulating a small device he'd produced from nowhere. You need to redirect it. Naruto, can you create a target? Understanding immediately, Naruto formed a shadow clone that began gathering chakra into a massive Rasengan, larger than any he'd created before. When I give the signal, Azimuth instructed, channel all that energy into his technique. The rift expanded one final time, the dark shape within almost breaking through. Something resembling a clawed hand reached toward them. Now, Azimuth shouted. Ben redirected the accumulated energy directly into Naruto's giant Rasengan. The chakra sphere absorbed the dimensional energy, growing unstable as it changed color from blue to purple to a blinding white. Get clear, Naruto yelled, as his clone hurled the overloaded Rasengan toward the rift. The impact was catastrophic. A shockwave of combined chakra and dimensional energy exploded outward, knocking everyone off their feet. Trees uprooted, the ground cracked, and for a moment, reality itself seemed to bend. Then, silence. Naruto pushed himself up from the ground, ears ringing. The clearing had become a crater, trees flattened in all directions. Ben had reverted to human form, looking dazed but intact. Sakura was already on her feet, medical training kicking in as she checked for injuries. Azimuth stood at the crater's center, manipulating his device with grim satisfaction. It worked. The rift has collapsed and stabilized. For now. What was that thing trying to come through? Sakura asked, helping Ben to his feet. Nothing good, Azimuth replied cryptically. But it was only the beginning. The barriers between your worlds are weakening systematically. That was merely a scout. Naruto dusted himself off, frowning. So how do we stop it? There must be a way to repair these barriers. There is, Azimuth said, turning to face him. But it requires resources from both worlds, and defenders capable of operating in both realities. He looked meaningfully at Ben, then back to Naruto. Which is why I came prepared with a solution. From within his robes, Azimuth produced a device similar to the one on Ben's wrist, but smaller and modified with unfamiliar components. Is that another Omnitrix? Ben asked, clearly surprised. A specialized variant, Azimuth confirmed. Designed to interface with the energy unique to this world. With both of you working together, utilizing the power of the Omnitrix in tandem. We might stand a chance. Naruto eyed the device skeptically. You want me to wear that thing? I already have my own abilities. Which is precisely why you're suitable, Azimuth replied. The standard Omnitrix was designed for humans without special abilities. This variant is calibrated to work with your chakra network, enhancing rather than replacing your natural skills. Sakura looked concerned. Naruto, We don't know anything about this technology. It could be dangerous. All power is dangerous in the wrong hands, Azimuth acknowledged. But right now, the greater danger is doing nothing. Those rifts will continue to grow, bringing threats from across the multiverse. Eventually, they'll tear both your worlds apart. Ben stepped forward. I've been using the Omnitrix for years. It's saved my world. Multiple worlds, more times than I can count. If Azimuth says this is necessary, I believe him. Naruto looked at the small device, feeling the weight of the decision. What exactly would this thing do to me? It would bond with your chakra network, Azimuth explained, allowing you to transform into various alien species, much like Ben does. But in your case, the transformations would retain and be enhanced by your chakra abilities, creating hybrid forms unique to you. The Shinobi of 1,000 aliens, Ben mused with a half smile. Has a nice ring to it. Naruto couldn't help but return the smile, despite the gravity of the situation. And this would help us fix the dimensional barriers. It would give us a fighting chance, Azimuth said. The rest depends on you. After a moment's consideration, Naruto extended his arm. All right, let's do this. Naruto. Sakura protested. Shouldn't we consult Lady Tsunade first? There's no time, Azimuth interrupted, moving toward Naruto with the device. The next convergence is already building. We need to be prepared. Before Sakura could argue further, Azimuth placed the modified Omnitrix against Naruto's wrist. Unlike Ben's, which had clasped mechanically, this one seemed to melt into Naruto's skin, glowing with chakra blue light as it integrated with his body. Naruto gasped, feeling a strange energy course through his chakra network. It wasn't painful, exactly, but intensely foreign, like nothing he'd ever experienced. The device settled into place, its appearance shifting subtly until it resembled a sleek, orange-accented version of Ben's Omnitrix. The neural interface is establishing, Azimuth observed. It's adapting to your unique energy signature. This may take a moment. Naruto felt a sudden pressure behind his eyes as information flooded his consciousness. Alien worlds, species, abilities, knowledge that wasn't his own being integrated into his mind. Whoa, he breathed, steadying himself against a tree. That's intense. Ben nodded sympathetically. Yeah, the first connection is a bit overwhelming. It gets easier. Inside Naruto's mindscape, another consciousness stirred, disturbed by the foreign energy. What have you done now, brat? The Nine-Tails growl reverberated through Naruto's thoughts. This power, it's not of our world. It's necessary, Naruto replied mentally, to protect everyone. The fox's massive form shifted within its seal, crimson eyes narrowing as it assessed the new energy flowing through its host. Interesting. This technology responds to your chakra, and by extension, to mine. Before Naruto could respond, he was pulled back to physical awareness by Azimuth's voice. The initialization is complete, the Galvan announced. Try activating it. The interface is similar to Ben's, but will respond to your chakra input as well. Naruto examined the device, noting the dial-like mechanism on top. Following Ben's example, he twisted it, and a holographic display appeared, showing silhouettes of various alien forms. Choose one, Ben suggested. Just press down on the dial when you've made your selection. Naruto selected a form at random, then pressed the dial. The transformation was instantaneous and disorienting, his body shifting, growing, changing in ways that no jutsu had ever affected him. When it finished, he stood nearly 9 feet tall, his body composed of red rock similar to Ben's heat blast form, but with distinct differences. Patterns resembling seal markings spiraled across his rocky skin, glowing with chakra blue light amidst the magma. 2 small horns protruded from his forehead, and his eyes retained their characteristic blue, though now they burned like flames. Whoa, Sakura breathed, taking an involuntary step back. Fascinating, Azimuth observed. The pyronite DNA has merged with your chakra network, creating a hybrid form. The seal markings suggest your tailed beast's energy is influencing the transformation as well. Naruto examined his transformed hands, feeling the strange dual nature of his new form. Fire chakra flowed through him with unprecedented ease. Yet he could still access his normal techniques. This is incredible, he said, his voice deeper and crackling like flames. I can feel the fire nature, but also my own chakra. Try a basic technique, Ben suggested. See how it works in this form. Naruto nodded, forming a familiar hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. The result exceeded all expectations. Instead of normal duplicates, 3 identical fire beings materialized beside him, each radiating intense heat. The clones are stable, Naruto noted with surprise. And they feel different, more substantial. Your chalk, Ra is reinforcing the transformation at a quantum level, Asmith explained. Creating effects I hadn't fully anticipated. This merits further study. Sakura approached cautiously, her medical trainin' prompting professional curiosity despite her concerns. Your chakra signature has changed, but it's still recognizably you. How does it feel? Powerful, Naruto admitted, but controlled. It's having a new chakra nature that was always part of me, just waiting to be unlocked. A distant explosion interrupted their discussion, followed by shouts and the distinctive sound of combat. The direction was clear, toward the village. That doesn't sound good, Ben said, already activating his own Omnitrix. Naruto's fiery form tensed. The village is under attack. Another convergence, Asmith confirmed grimly. Larger than before. We need to move quickly. Ben transformed into a blue-furred, monkey-like creature with 4 arms and enhanced agility. Spider Monkey. Let's go. Naruto nodded to his clones, who dispersed in different directions to cover more ground. To Sakura, he said, get Asmith to safety, then alert Lady Tsunade. We'll handle whatever's coming through. Sakura looked like she wanted to argue but nodded. Be careful, we don't know what we're dealing with yet. When am I ever careful? Naruto replied with a grin that looked particularly menacing on his fiery face. As they raced toward Konoha, Ben swinging through trees with preternatural agility while Naruto propelled himself with controlled fire bursts, the shinobi reflected on how quickly his world had changed. This morning, he'd been tracking an unusual energy signature. Now he was part alien, rushing to defend his village alongside a shape-shifting hero from another dimension. Just another day in the life of Naruto Uzumaki. Hinata Hyuga had been monitoring the village perimeter with her Byakugan when the first anomaly appeared. Unlike normal chakra signatures, these disturbances read as blank spots in her vision, voids where reality itself seemed uncertain. Neji, she called to her cousin, who was stationed nearby. Do you see that? Neji activated his own Byakugan, focusing on the area she indicated. Yes, 3 disturbances, forming approximately 2 kilometers west of the main gate. They're growing. Hinata frowned, extending her visual range further. There's something else. Look at the chakra patterns in the forest. They're being disrupted by some kind of energy I've never seen before. Before Neji could respond, the village alarm sounded, 3 long bursts followed by 2 short ones. Invasion protocol. We need to report this, Neji said, already moving. Lady Tsunade will want your observations. They hadn't gone far when the first explosion rocked the western wall. Civilians scattered as shinobi converged on the disturbance. Through her Byakugan, Hinata watched in horror as creatures emerged from swirling portals, some humanoid, others defying description entirely. What are they? She whispered, tracking their strange, non-chakra energy signatures. Unknown, Neji replied tersely. But hostile. That much was clear. The creatures were attacking indiscriminately, using abilities unlike any jutsu Hinata had ever witnessed. One fired energy beams from its eyes, while another seemed to manipulate gravity itself, sending defenders flying. Hinata, Neji. Tenten landed beside them, scrolls already open in her hands. Lady Tsunade has ordered all available Jonin and Chunin to defensive positions. What are we dealing with? I'm not sure, Hinata admitted. They don't use chakra, but they're incredibly powerful. My Byakugan can't read their energy systems properly. Tenten nodded grimly, summoning an array of weapons from her scrolls. Then we'll have to rely on conventional methods. The 3 shinobi moved as one, heading toward the nearest breach in the village's defenses. Other teams were already engaging the invaders, with mixed results. Standard jutsu seemed effective against some creatures but completely useless against others. Target the humanoid ones first, Neji suggested, noting their coordinated movements. They appear to be directing the others. Hinata focused her Byakugan on the leader, a tall, silver-skinned being with 4 arms, each wielding a different weapon. It moved with unnatural speed, easily evading the attacks of 3 Anbu operatives. Its weak point is the center of its chest, she observed. There's a concentration of energy there, different from the rest of its body. Tenten smiled grimly, unfurling a specialized scroll. That's all I need to know. With practiced precision, she summoned and launched a barrage of explosive tagged kunai, timing their convergence to anticipate the creature's evasive pattern. It dodged most, but one struck true, detonating against the chest point Hinata had identified. The creature staggered, its silver skin cracking to reveal circuitry beneath. It turned toward them, eyes flashing with malevolent intelligence. Humans, it spoke, its voice metallic and cold. Your resistance is noted but futile. This world has been designated for harvesting. Harvesting. Neji's expression hardened. This is our home, not your resource. The creature laughed, a sound like grinding gears. All worlds are resources to the harvesters. Yours is particularly valuable. The energy your kind generates is unique. He means chakra, Hinata realized. Thereafter are chakra. Perceptive, the creature acknowledged. But knowing changes nothing. It raised a hand, and the ground beneath them began to tremble. Hinata leapt back just as the earth cracked open, revealing mechanical tendrils that sought to ensnare them. Neji, she called out in warning, but her cousin was already moving. His gentle fist technique striking with pinpoint accuracy at the mechanical appendages. 8 trigrams 64 palms. Neji's hands blurred as he severed T. He connections between the tendrils and their power source, rendering them inert. The silver being seemed unimpressed. Primitive energy manipulation. Inefficient. It pressed a device on its arm, its weapons began to glow with the same energy that characterized the dimensional rifts. Get down, Tenten shouted, recognizing the imminent attack. The energy discharge swept across the battlefield, cutting through stone and wood like paper. Hinata barely managed to avoid it, pulling a stunned civilian out of its path as she moved. We need reinforcements, Neji said, his calm voice belying the urgency of the situation. As if in answer, a massive fireball streaked across the sky, impacting directly into the silver being's position. The explosion rocked the area, sending debris flying in all directions. When the dust cleared, a tall figure composed of living flames stood where their opponent had been, holding the damaged silver being by its throat. Beside it was a blue, monkey-like creature that moved with impossible agility. Sorry we're late, the flame being said, its voice strangely familiar despite its otherworldly appearance. Traffic was terrible. Hinata's Byakugan activated automatically, analyzing these new arrivals. What she saw made her gasp in shock. Naruto, she whispered, recognizing the unique chakra signature interwoven with the alien energy. Is that you? The fiery head turned toward her, revealing blue eyes that confirmed her suspicion. Hey, Hinata, like the new look. It's a long story, I'll explain later. The silver being struggled in Naruto's grasp. Omnitrix wielder, your presence was not anticipated in this reality. Yeah, I get that a lot, the blue monkey creature replied, its voice distinctly different from Naruto's. Tends to ruin people's invasion plans. I'm funny that way. Hinata stared in confusion, her Byakugan revealing that this second creature harbored no chakra at all, just the strange energy that characterized the invaders, yet somehow different. Naruto. Neji approached cautiously. What happened to you? And who is your companion? Name's Ben, the monkey creature supplied. Ben Tennyson, interdimensional tourist, part-time hero. Full-time pain in the neck to guys like this. He gestured to the silver being. We'll do proper introductions later, Naruto said, his fiery form intensifying as he addressed their captive. Right now, I want to know exactly what a harvester is and why you're attacking my village. The silver being's damaged system sparked as it laughed. You've only delayed the inevitable. The convergence has begun. Worlds will merge, realities will collapse, and from the chaos, the new order will emerge. Yeah, heard it all before, Ben replied, transforming suddenly into a crystalline being similar to the attackers from the forest. Diamond Head. Now, let's try this again with less monologuing and more answering questions. Hinata watched in fascination as Ben, T.'s stranger from another world, shifted forms as easily as changing clothes. No hand signs, no chakra molding, just instant transformation. The silver being's eyes flashed. The harvesters serve the convergence. That is all you need to know. Before anyone could react, it pressed a hidden button on its chest. And we are everywhere. Throughout the village, the invading forces suddenly disengaged, retreating toward the rifts they'd emerged from. The silver being in Naruto's grasp began to glow with unstable energy. It's going to self-destruct. Ben warned. Everyone back. Naruto reacted instantly, hurling the creature high into the air. It detonated with a thunderous boom, the shockwave buffeting them even from a safe distance. As quickly as it had begun, the invasion ceased. The rifts collapsed in on themselves, leaving destruction and confusion in their wake. Naruto's fiery form flickered, then reverted to his human appearance with a flash of orange light. He staggered slightly, steadying himself against a partially destroyed wall. That, he said with a weary grin, was more intense than I expected. Ben also reverted to human form, revealing a brown-haired teenager who looked to be about Naruto's age. You get used to it. Sort of. Hinata approached them cautiously, medical training prompting her to check for injuries. Naruto, are you all right? Your chakra signature was different. I'm fine, Hinata, he assured her, then noticed her concern hadn't abated. Really, it's complicated, but I'm still me. Just with some upgrades. Upgrades. Tenten had joined them, eyeing the device on Naruto's wrist with obvious interest. That technology, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. That's because it's not from your world, Ben explained. The Omnitrix I.S. Galvan technology, probably the most advanced device in my universe. And now Naruto has one, Neji observed neutrally, though his activated Byakugan revealed his intense interest in the device. Why? Before either could answer, a small gray figure appeared from behind a chunk of debris. Because your worlds are in danger, and conventional methods won't be sufficient to save them. Hinata's Byakugan analyzed the newcomer, finding an energy signature as alien as Ben's but vastly more complex despite his small size. This is Azimuth, Naruto introduced. He created the Omnitrix, and he's here because we have a serious problem. Multiple serious problems, Azimuth corrected. That attack was merely a probe, testing your world's defenses and gathering data. The real invasion hasn't even begun. Tenten looked around at the destruction. This was just a test run. I'm afraid so, Ben confirmed grimly. And based on past experience, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Sakura arrived with Lady Tsunade in tow, both women taking in the scene with professional assessment. The Hokage's expression was thunderous as she approached the group. Uzumaki, she said in a dangerously calm voice. You have exactly 1 minute to explain why you're wearing unknown technology, associating with interdimensional beings, and why my village is partly in ruins. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds bad. 55 seconds, Tsunade warned. Azimuth stepped forward. Allow me, Lady Hokage. I am responsible for much of this, though not the attack itself. With remarkable concision, he outlined the dimensional crisis, the purpose of the modified Omnitrix, and the nature of the threat they faced. Tsunade listened silently, her expression unreadable. When Azimuth finished, she turned to Naruto. And you agreed to this. Bonding alien technology to your chakra network without consultation or medical supervision. There wasn't time, Naruto defended. And it was the right call. We couldn't have repelled those attackers without it. Tsunade's gaze shifted to Ben. And you've been using this Omnitrix, for how long? About 7 years, Ben replied. Since I was 10, it's saved my world more times than I can count. At great personal risk, I imagine, Tsunade noted shrewdly. Ben shrugged. It comes with the territory. The Hokage sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. Shizune is going to need to increase my sake allowance. She straightened, addressing the group. Azimuth, I want a full briefing on this technology and its potential effects on Naruto's chakra system. Sakura, assemble a medical team to assess anyone who came in contact with these harvesters. The rest of you, help with village security and cleanup. And us? Naruto asked, gesturing between himself and Ben. You two are staying where I can see you, Tsunade declared. If these attacks continue, we'll need your expertise. But make no mistake. Her eyes narrowed. If that device proves harmful to Naruto or this village, I'll find a way to remove it, interdimensional crisis or not. Azimuth seemed amused rather than intimidated. A reasonable precaution. However, I designed this variant specifically for compatibility with his unique physiology. It poses no danger to him, quite the opposite. I'll be the judge of that, Tsunade replied firmly. As they headed toward the Hokage Tower, Hinata fell into step beside Naruto, her curiosity overcoming her natural reserve. What was it like? She asked quietly. Being transformed like that, Naruto considered the question seriously. It was liberating, in a way. Like discovering a part of myself I didn't know existed. He glanced at the Omnitrix. It's hard to explain, but it felt right. Somehow. Natural. Your chakra network adapted remarkably well, she observed. I could see it with my Byakugan. The alien energy and your chakra working in harmony, especially around. She hesitated. Then continued in an even lower voice, the Nine Tails seal. Naruto nodded, unsurprised by her perceptiveness. The fox noticed too. It seemed interested, rather than concerned. That's unusual, Hinata noted. The Nine Tails is typically resistant to external influences. Maybe it recognizes the potential, Naruto suggested. Or maybe it's just curious about something new. Either way, it's not fighting the connection. Ahead of them, Ben was engaged in animated conversation with Tenten, who was peppering him with questions about his world's weapons technology. So these plumbers aren't actually plumbers? She was asking, fascinated. Nope. Intergalactic peacekeepers, Ben explained. The name's just a cover. They've got some seriously cool tech, energy weapons, gravity manipulators, phase shifters. My grandpa was one of the best. I'd love to see some of those weapons, Tenten said, eyes gleaming with professional interest. For research purposes, of course. Of course, Ben agreed with a knowing smile. Naruto watched their interaction with amusement. Despite the crisis, Ben seemed remarkably at ease, a trait Naruto Rico GNIZED from his own approach to dangerous situations. Perhaps that was why they'd fallen into partnership so naturally. As they approached the Hokage Tower, Naruto felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The Omnitrix represented power beyond anything he'd experienced before, even counting the Nine Tails chakra. How that power would change him, and his world, remained to be seen. One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. In the depths of an underground laboratory, far from Konoha, a figure watched the recorded footage of the battle with clinical interest. Screens lined the walls, displaying data analyses, energy readings, and close-ups of Naruto's transformation. Fascinating, the observer murmured, adjusting his glasses. The convergence proceeds exactly as predicted. And now, the final variable has been introduced. A subordinate approached cautiously. Lord Orochimaru, the dimensional sensors detected multiple breaches in Konoha, just as you anticipated. Orochimaru smiled thinly, his serpentine eyes never leaving the image of Naruto's fiery form. And our instruments recorded everything. The alien technology, the dimensional rifts, the harvesters. All pieces of a puzzle we've only just begun to solve. What about Sasuke? Should we inform him of these developments? Not yet, Orochimaru decided. Let him continue his training. When the time is right, he'll face Naruto again, and I'm most interested to see how this new power affects their eternal rivalry. The subordinate hesitated, and the other matter. Our visitor. Orochimaru's smile widened. Ah, yes, our guest from beyond the dimensional veil. Show me. A screen activated, revealing a holding cell where a humanoid figure sat in meditation. Its skin was pale green, with black lines running across its face like circuit patterns. Though restrained, it radiated an aura of calm control. Has it spoken? Orochimaru asked. Only to request communication with someone called Vilgax. The subordinate replied. It claims to be an emissary, not an invader. How diplomatic, Orochimaru mused. And this Vilgax? Unknown, but based on the few details it provided. A being of considerable power in its home dimension. Orochimaru steepled his fingers, contemplating the implications. The convergence of worlds presents unprecedented opportunities for those prepared to seize them. New knowledge, new powers, new vessels. His gaze returned to the image of Naruto wielding alien abilities. And new challenges. Your orders, Lord Orochimaru. Continue monitoring the dimensional fluctuations. I want to know immediately if another breach occurs. He rose from his seat, moving toward the laboratory door. As for our guest, inform it that I will be delighted to establish diplomatic relations with its master. The age of hidden villages is coming to an end. It's time to think on a much grander scale. As Orochimaru departed, the screens continued to display data from the Konoha incident. On one monitor, a detailed analysis of the Omnitrix's energy signature ran alongside a simulation of its integration with Naruto's chakra network. The possibilities were endless, and for a man who had always sought to master all techniques in existence, the addition of alien powers to the equation was simply too tempting to ignore. The game had changed, and Orochimaru intended to be several moves ahead. The Hokage's office had never felt so crowded. Tsunade sat behind her desk, fingers steepled as she processed the information Asmith had shared. Beside her, Shizune scribbled notes furiously, occasionally shooting worried glances at Naruto. Let me see if I understand correctly, Tsunade said. These dimensional breaches will continue to worsen. Entities from across multiple realities will attempt to invade our world. And our best defense is Naruto using alien technology to transform into various extraterrestrial species. That is an accurate if simplified summary. Asmith confirmed. And there's no way to simply close these breaches. Repair the dimensional barriers. Asmith sighed. Not without identifying and neutralizing the source of the disruption. Someone is deliberately targeting the barriers between your world and Tennyson's. Until we locate them and disable their technology, the breaches will continue. Naruto, who had been uncharacteristically quiet during the briefing, finally spoke up. So we need to find whoever's behind this. Any ideas where to start? The harvesters are mercenaries, Ben supplied. They work for the highest bidder. If we can capture one intact, we might be able to trace it back to their employer. Assuming their employer is in this dimension, Sakura pointed out. They could be operating from your world, Ben. That's why we need to coordinate efforts across both realities, Asmith said. I've modified both Omnitrixes to serve as dimensional anchors. Naruto and Ben can travel between worlds when necessary, maintaining the connection that will allow us to eventually seal the breaches permanently. Tsunade frowned. You're suggesting Naruto leave our world during a crisis? Only temporarily, and only when strategically necessary, Asmith assured her. Most of the conflict will likely occur here, as your world's chakra energy appears to be the primary target. Hinata, who had been invited to the meeting due to her Byakugan observations, raised a tentative hand. I noticed something during the attack. The rifts themselves had a chakra signature, faint, but distinctive. As if someone from our world was helping create them from this side. This revelation caused a stir among the assembled shinobi. A traitor. Neji's expression darkened. Or someone being manipulated, Sakura suggested. We've seen chakra being controlled remotely before. Either way, Tsunade concluded, we need more information. She turned to Naruto. I'm authorizing a special task force under your leadership to investigate these dimensional incursions. Select whoever you need. Naruto blinked in surprise. Me, leading a task force. You're the one with the alien wristwatch, Tsunade pointed out dryly. And despite your unorthodox methods, you've proven yourself capable in crisis situations. I recommend including individuals with analytical abilities, Asmith advised. The Hyuga's visual prowess would be particularly valuable for monitoring dimensional energies. Hinata straightened slightly at this, her usual shyness temporarily overcome by professional interest. I would be honored to assist. Lady Tsunade. And me, Sakura added firmly. My medical knowledge might be useful if there are more biological aspects to these incursions. I volunteer as well, Tenten said. If we're facing technology-based threats, weapons specialization could be crucial. Ben smiled approvingly. Looks like you've got your team already, Naruto. Not quite, Tsunade interjected. I'm also assigning Shikamaru Nara as strategic advisor. His analytical skills will be essential. Naruto nodded, the reality of his new responsibility sinking in. When do we start? Immediately, Asmith said. First priority. Naruto needs to master his new abilities. Ben can assist with that. There's an isolated training ground in the eastern forest, Tsunade suggested. Why? Oh, you can practice there without risking collateral damage. Before we disperse, Shizune spoke up, I'd like to conduct a thorough medical examination of Naruto. We need baseline readings of how this Omnitrix is affecting his chakra network. A reasonable precaution, Asmith agreed. I can provide technical data to correlate with your findings. As the meeting concluded and people began to file out, Tsunade held Naruto back with a gesture. A word in private, she said, her expression serious. When they were alone, she fixed him with a penetrating stare. Are you certain about this, Naruto? Once this technology fully integrates with your system, there may be no going back. Naruto glanced down at the Omnitrix, its orange glow pulsing in time with his heartbeat. I've never been one to back down from responsibility. Grandma Tsunade, you know that. This is different, she insisted. We're talking about alien DNA merging with your cells, interacting with the Nine Tails chakra. The implications are, she trailed off. Concern evident in her eyes. Unknown, Naruto finished for her. But so were the implications when the fourth sealed the Nine Tails in me. Sometimes we have to take risks to protect what matters. Tsunade's expression softened slightly. When did you get so philosophical? Probably around the time I turned into a walking campfire, Naruto replied with a grin. Despite herself, Tsunade chuckled. Fine, but I want daily medical check-ins, and if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you tell Sakura or Shizune immediately. Understood. Yes, ma'am, Naruto agreed. His tone unusually respectful. As he turned to leave, Tsunade added, and Naruto, try not to destroy the training ground completely. The village budget can't handle rebuilding it again. His laughter echoed down the hallway as he departed, leaving Tsunade alone with her thoughts and a mounting stack of incident reports. Outside, Ben was waiting, leaning casually against the wall. So, leader of an interdimensional task force. Pretty impressive promotion. Yeah, Naruto scratched his head sheepishly. Not exactly what I was expecting when I woke up this morning. Welcome to my world, Ben replied with a knowing smile. Literally. As they walked together toward the medical wing for Naruto's examination, a thought occurred to him. Hey, Ben, you've been using the Omnitrix for years. Any advice? Ben considered the question seriously. The Omnitrix isn't just a tool or a weapon, it's a responsibility. Each form has strengths and weaknesses. Learn them all, not just the powerful ones. He paused, then added with a grin, and try not to get stuck as something embarrassing during a date. Trust me on that one. Naruto laughed, tension easing from his shoulders. Despite the crisis, despite the uncertainty of what lay ahead, he felt strangely optimistic. Perhaps it was the Uzumaki in him, always rising to challenges. Or perhaps it was the knowledge that he wasn't facing this alone. Either way, the Shinobi of 1,000 aliens was ready for whatever came next. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Adaptations. Dawn broke over the eastern training ground, painting the sky in watercolor strokes of amber and rose. Dew-kissed grass bent beneath Naruto's sandals as he faced Ben across the clearing. 3 days had passed since the harvester attack, and the village hummed with reconstruction efforts. Here, however, isolated from the bustle, only the morning birdsong interrupted their focus. Ready, Ben called, casually leaning against a weathered oak. Naruto rolled his shoulders, feeling the unfamiliar weight of the Omnitrix against his wrist. Born ready. Show me Heat Blast again, Ben instructed. But this time, try modulating the flame temperature. Precision over power. Naruto twisted the dial, cycling through holographic alien silhouettes until he found the familiar fiery form. With a deep breath, he slammed his palm down on the device. Orange light enveloped him, restructuring his molecular composition in a process that still felt equal parts exhilarating and disorienting. The transformation completed with a flash, leaving Naruto in his pyronite form, though noticeably different from Ben's version. Chakra-infused seal patterns spiraled across his magma skin, and small horns protruded from his forehead, evidence of the Nine Tails' influence on the alien DNA. Remember, Ben coached, pyronites don't just make fire, they are fire. Think of your chakra as the control mechanism. Naruto extended his hand toward a series of stone targets Tenten had arranged the previous day. Flames erupted from his palm, a torrent of undisciplined power that melted the nearest target into slag. Too hot, Ben winced. You're thinking like a shinobi using a fire jutsu. Try feeling the heat as an extension of yourself. Naruto frowned, the expression causing cracks to form across his molten face. That doesn't make any sense. Imagine how your sage chakra feels, suggested a soft voice from the edge of the clearing. Hinata Hyuga approached, her Byakugan activated as she studied Naruto's transformed state. She'd been monitoring his training sessions, her dojutsu providing valuable insights into how the alien DNA interacted with his chakra network. Sage chakra, Naruto questioned. When you gather natural energy, Hinata elaborated, you don't force it, you become a conduit. Balancing it with your own chakra. Your pyronite form seems similar. The heat flows through pathways like your chakra network, but more fluid. Ben snapped his fingers. Exactly. It's not about pushing the fire out, it's about directing what's already there. Naruto considered this, looking down at his magma-veined hands. He closed his eyes, sensing the flow of energy within this alien form, not unlike how he'd learned to sense natural energy as a sage. Instead of forcing the flames outward, he allowed heat to flow, directing it with gentle guidance rather than forceful command. When he opened his eyes and extended his hand again, a controlled stream of fire emerged, precise enough to trace a spiral pattern on the second stone target without melting it completely. I did it, Naruto exclaimed, the flames composing his body burning brighter with excitement. Excellent progress, noted Asmith, who materialized from behind a monitoring device he'd set up at the training ground's edge. Your chakra network is adapting to the Omnitrix's alien DNA with remarkable efficiency. Hinata nodded, her Byakugan still active. The integration is fascinating. I can see how your chakra pathways are reconfiguring to accommodate each transformation, creating hybrid channels that don't exist in either system naturally. In normal humans, the Omnitrix temporarily overwrites their DNA. Asmith explained. But in your case, Naruto, it's more of a symbiotic merger. Your chakra network provides a framework that both preserves your original abilities and enhances the alien forms. Speaking of which, Ben interjected, let's try something completely different. You've got fire down, time for something cooler. He grinned at his own pun. Try Big Chill. Naruto reverted to human form with another flash of orange light, then scrolled through the holographic display until he found the moth-like silhouette Ben described. Another transformation sequence left him standing as a blue, spectral being with massive wings folded around his body like a cloak. Whoa, Naruto's voice echoed with an ethereal quality. This one feels strange. Big Chill is a necrophrygian, Ben explained. They can generate extreme cold, fly, and phase through solid objects. Naruto finished, the knowledge somehow available in his mind. The Omnitrix shares information about the aliens' base instincts and abilities, Asmith confirmed. Though mastery requires practice. Hinata circled Naruto, her Byakugan revealing details invisible to normal sight. Your Chakra is behaving differently in this form, more dispersed, less concentrated. Almost like it's partially existing in another dimension. That's exactly right, Asmith said approvingly. Necrophrygia. NS can phase shift because portions of their molecular structure exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Naruto flexed his clawed hands, frost forming in the air around them. Let's test it out. He spread his wings, gossamer appendages with intricate patterns that reflected the early morning light, and launched himself skyward with surprising grace. Flying came naturally in this form, requiring little conscious thought. Try phasing through that tree. Ben called up to him. Naruto banked in midair, angling toward a massive oak at the clearing's edge. He concentrated on the saint range sensation Hinata had described, the feeling of his energy existing in multiple states, and accelerated directly toward the solid trunk. Instead of collision, he experienced a momentary resistance. Then the bizarre sensation of solid matter passing through him, or him through it. He emerged from the other side unharmed, leaving a coating of frost on the bark. That was amazing, he called back, voice resonating with excitement. His celebration was short-lived. From behind, a blazing fireball streaked toward him, its intensity evident even from a distance. Naruto, look out, Hinata shouted. Rather than dodge, Naruto instinctively turned intangible again. The fireball passed harmlessly through his spectral form, dissipating against the morning sky. On the ground, Sasuke Uchiha lowered his hand, a challenging smirk playing across his features. Testing your defenses, Sasuke explained coolly as Naruto landed before him. Impressive, Sasuke. Naruto's echoing voice carried a note of surprise. When did you get back to the village? This morning. Sasuke's eyes, one bearing the Sharingan, the other the Rinnegan, studied Naruto's transformed state with analytical intensity. Lady Tsunade briefed me about the dimensional incursions. I've been assigned to your task force. Ben approached, eyeing Sasuke with cautious curiosity. So you're the famous Sasuke. Naruto's mentioned you, and you're the alien shapeshifter from another dimension, Sasuke replied. Your entrance caused quite a stir. You could say the same about your fire jutsu, Ben countered. Tension CK led between them momentarily before Sasuke shrugged. I needed to verify what I'd heard. An enemy would exploit any weaknesses in Naruto's new abilities. Naruto reverted to human form, his usual grin spreading across his face. Still a jerk, I see. Some things never change. Some things do, Sasuke replied, nodding at the Omnitrix. Lady Tsunade wants us at the command center. Intelligence R. Reports suggest another breach is forming near the Valley of the End. Azimuth's expression turned grave. Sooner than anticipated. The convergence is accelerating. Hinata deactivated her Byakugan, the veins around her eyes receding. I'll alert the rest of the team. No need, came a lazy drawl from the path leading to the training ground. Shikamaru Nara approached, hands in pockets, expression caught between boredom and concern. Everyone's already assembling. What a drag, another crisis before breakfast. Interdimensional invasions wait for no meal, Ben quipped, activating his own Omnitrix. XLR8 should get us there fastest. In a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a blue-black velociraptor-like being with wheels for feet and a streamlined helmet. Everyone grab on. I'll take my own transportation. Sasuke declined, activating his Rinnegan's abilities to create a portal. Show off, Naruto muttered, placing a hand on Ben's shoulder as Hinata hesitantly did the same. Hold tight, Ben warned before accelerating to speeds that turned the world into a smeared watercolor of green and brown. The command center, hastily established in a reinforced bunker beneath the Hokage Tower. Buzzed with activity, screens displaying sensor readings lined the walls, while communication stations relayed information from scout teams positioned around the village perimeter. Tsunade stood at the central table, where a three-dimensional map of the region hovered, a blend of traditional cartography and Azimuth's alien technology. Red dots pulsed at various locations, indicating dimensional disturbances. The primary breach is forming here, she indicated, pointing to the Valley of the End. But we're detecting smaller anomalies throughout the region. They're appearing in a pattern. Shikamaru studied the map, eyes narrowed in concentration. Not random at all. They're forming a perimeter around the village, equidistant from each other. A containment strategy, Sasuke observed. They're trying to isolate Konoha. Sakura entered, carrying a stack of medical reports. The hospital is prepared for casualties, and I've established triage stations at each gate. She paused, noting Sasuke's presence with momentary surprise before continuing professionally. The victims from the last attack showed unusual chakra disruption patterns. Their networks were partially destabilized, as if something was attempting to extract their chakra forcibly. Consistent with the harvester's claim about harvesting chakra, Azimuth noted grimly. The door opened again as Tenten arrived, arms laden with scrolls and what appeared to be modified weapons. I've been studying the fragments from the crystalline attackers, she announced, depositing her burden on a side table. They're not just mineral-based lifeforms, they're partially technological. Some components appear manufactured. Living weapons, Ben suggested, having reverted to human form upon arrival. We've seen similar technology in my world, beings engineered for combat purposes. Naruto leaned over the map, studying the pattern of breaches. So what's the plan? We can't defend all these locations simultaneously. We don't need to, Shikamaru replied, manipulating the holographic display. Based on the energy readings, the valley breach is the primary one, the others are likely diversionary tactics or secondary invasion points. Then we focus our main force at the valley, Tsunade decided. Naruto, Ben, Sasuke, Sakura, you'll form the primary response team. Hinata, Shikamaru, and Tenten WILL monitor the secondary breaches and coordinate village defenses. I should accompany the primary team, Azimuth stated. If the dimensional technology is present at the main breach, my expertise will be required to neutralize it. A communication officer approached Tsunade, expression tense. Lady Hokage, we're receiving reports from the eastern perimeter. Sound ninja have been spotted near one of the breach points. Sound ninja. Sakura's brow furrowed. Why would they be interested in dimensional breaches? Orochimaru. Sasuke said simply, his expression darkening. He wouldn't miss an opportunity to study new power sources. Or he's working with whoever's causing the breaches, Naruto suggested. Tsunade's lips pressed into a thin line. Change of plans. Sasuke, take a team to investigate the sound ninja presence. The rest of the assignments remain unchanged. I'll go with Sasuke. Sakura volunteered immediately. No, Tsunade countered. I need your medical expertise with the primary team. Ino can accompany Sasuke. Her mind techniques might extract valuable intelligence if they capture any sound operatives. As if summoned by her name, Ino Yamanaka entered the command center. Reporting as ordered, Lady Tsunade. Her eyes widened slightly at the assembled group, lingering momentarily on Ben with undisguised curiosity. Perfect timing, Tsunade nodded. You'll be joining Sasuke to investigate sound ninja activity near the eastern breach. Ino's professional demeanor slipped for just a second, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. Understood, Lady Hokage. Everyone has their assignments, Tsunade concluded. Move out, and remember, we're dealing with unknown technology and potentially hostile alien entities. Exercise extreme caution. As the teams dispersed to prepare, Ino approached Ben, tossing her long blonde ponytail over her shoulder. So you're the visitor from another dimension, she said, her voice carrying a note of practiced charm. I'm Ino Yamanaka, intelligence specialist. Ben Tennyson, he replied with an easy smile. Interdimensional tourist, apparently. Is it true you can transform into dozens of different aliens? Her blue eyes sparkled with genuine interest. 73 at last count, Ben confirmed. Though I'm sure Azimuth could tell you the exact number. Impressive, Ino remarked. Maybe you could show me some of your forms sometime. For intelligence purposes, of course. Of course, Ben echoed, amusement evident in his tone. Naruto appeared at Ben's shoulder, grinning mischievously. Careful, Ben. Ino's interrogation techniques are legendary in the village. I'm simply gathering information on our interdimensional ally, Ino replied primly, though a smile tugged at her lips. Unlike some people, I take my duties seriously. If you two are finished, Sasuke interrupted, already equipped and ready for departure, we have a mission. Ino immediately straightened, professionalism reasserting itself. Ready when you are. As they departed, Naruto nudged Ben. Looks like you've made an impression. It happens when you're a famous hero in another dimension, Ben replied with mock solemnity before breaking into a grin. Come on. We've got our own mission to worry about. The Valley of the End lived up to its ominous name that day. Dark clouds gathered above the massive waterfall, natural lightning crackling between them in jagged purple streaks. The massive statues of Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju, titans of Konoha's founding era, stood as silent sentinels while reality itself began to fray before them. The breach is growing faster than the previous ones, Azimuth observed from his perch on Naruto's shoulder. The convergence is accelerating exponentially. Naruto felt the Omnitrix pulse against his skin, resonating with the dimensional energy. The nine tails stirred within him, equally disturbed by the unnatural phenomenon. This power threatens the natural order. The fox growled in his mindscape. Even I find it unsettling. That's saying something, Naruto muttered in response. Sakura glanced at him. The nine tails. Naruto nodded. It doesn't like this any more than we do. Ben studied the growing distortion, the Omnitrix on his wrist glowing brighter than usual. Something's different about this breach. It's more directed. Directed how? Sakura questioned. Previous breaches were chaotic. Random tears in space-time, Ben explained. This one feels purposeful, like someone's carving a specific doorway. As if confirming his assessment. The distortion suddenly stabilized, its swirling energies coalescing into a defined portal. Through its shimmering surface, they glimpsed a barren landscape of red rock and twisted metal. Structures, definitely not part of their world. Is that your dimension? Naruto asked Ben. No. Ben's expression grew serious. That looks like Koro's, homeworld of the Tetraman species. Which means, Sakura prompted. Trouble. Ben answered grimly. Tetramans are a warrior race. 4 arms, incredible strength, and not exactly known for their peaceful diplomatic skills. On cue, figures emerged from the portal, massive, red-skinned humanoids with 4 muscular arms and fierce expressions. Each stood nearly 10 feet tall, armored in what appeared to be a combination of traditional metal plates and advanced technology. They moved with surprising discipline for their size, immediately establishing a perimeter around the portal. They're securing the breach point, Sakura observed. Standard invasion protocol. Behind the Tetramans came smaller figures, humans wearing the distinctive sound pattern headbands of Otogakure, Orochimaru's hidden village. They carried strange devices. Hat pulsed with the same energy as the portal. Called it, Naruto muttered. Orochimaru's working with them. This changes the strategic approach, Azimuth noted. The sound ninja must be providing chakra expertise to stabilize the breaches from this side. Ben activated his Omnitrix, cycling through available transformations. 4 arms might be useful here, fight fire with fire. Wait, Naruto cautioned, studying the emerging forces. Something's not right. The sound ninja aren't acting like allies. Look at how the Tetramans are positioned around them. Indeed, the 4-armed aliens arranged themselves in a formation that contained the sound ninja as much as it protected them. Several humans wore collar-like devices that glowed whenever they operated the portal technology. They're not allies, Sakura realized. They're captives, slaves, or willing collaborators, Ben suggested darkly. We've seen it before. Humans who betray their own kind for alien technology or power. Either way, Naruto decided. We need to disrupt that portal before more come through. He activated his own Omnitrix. I'm thinking Diamond Head for this one. Good choice, Ben approved. Christ, a line form should be resistant to most energy weapons they might have. Naruto transformed in a flash of orange light, his body reconstructing into a crystalline form similar to the Petrosapian Atta. CKERS from days before, but with distinct differences. Orange crystal formations extended from his shoulders and forearms like natural armor, and the crystal comprising his body contained swirling patterns reminiscent of his chakra flow. I'll approach from the left, crystalline Naruto decided, his voice resonating with harmonic overtones. Ben, take right. Sakura, I know my job, she replied, pulling on specialized gloves. Create chaos, destroy their technology, extract any prisoners. Ben transformed into a red, 4-armed being similar to the invaders, but with the Omnitrix symbol prominently displayed on his chest. 4 arms. Let's show these guys who they're dealing with. Azimuth leapt from Naruto's shoulder to a safe vantage point. I'll analyze the portal technology. If I can determine its operating principles, we might trace it back to its source. The team split up, approaching the breach point from different angles. Naruto moved silently despite his crystalline form. Years of shinobi training overriding the natural tendencies of the alien physiology. He positioned himself behind a boulder, observing the sound ninja more closely. Their movements seemed mechanical, lacking the fluid grace typical of trained shinobi. Several operated console-like devices that appeared to be stabilizing the portal, while others stood guard with weapons that were definitely not of Earth origin. Something's wrong with them, Naruto communicated via a small device Azimuth had provided. They're moving strangely. Mind control technology is common among advanced species, Ben's voice replied through the communicator. The callers could be suppressing their will. In position, Sakura reported. On your mark. Naruto formed a plan instantly. I'll target the portal technology. Ben, engage the Tetramans. Sakura, focus on freeing the sound ninja if they're being controlled. 3, 2, 1, go. Naruto burst from cover, his crystalline body catching sunlight and refracting it in dazzling patterns. He extended his arms, instinctively channeling chakra through his transformed limbs. To his surprise, crystal shards erupted from his palms, not simply projected like weapons, but formed from his very being and infused with chakra. The shards struck the portal devices with pinpoint accuracy, shattering delicate components. The dimensional gateway fluctuated wildly, its edges becoming unstable. Simultaneously, Ben charged the Tetraman guards, matching their four-armed strength with his own. Hey, cousins. Family reunions cancelled. Sakura moved with medical precision, targeting the control collars on the sound ninja with chakra-enhanced strikes. As the first collar shattered, the ninja collapsed, his body convulsing as if suddenly freed from external control. The Tetraman commander, distinguished by elaborate armor and a crimson cape, roared orders in a guttural language. 4 of his warriors broke formation, charging toward Naruto with massive energy weapons that pulsed with crimson light. Naruto, incoming, Sakura warned. Naruto spun to face the threat, instinctively crossing his arms before him. Crystal erupted from his forearms, forming a reflective shield just as the energy weapons discharged. The crimson beams struck his defense and ricocheted back toward the attackers, catching 2 of them squarely in the chest and sending them flying backward. Nice trick, Ben called as he grappled with the commander. Didn't know Petrosapians could do that. Neither did I, Naruto replied honestly, the knowledge having emerged instinctively. He pressed his advantage, charging forward while forming crystal blades from his hands. The remaining Tetramans adjusted their tactics, switching to close-quarters combat with energized gauntlets. That could potentially shatter his crystalline form. Naruto dodged the first swing, decades of taijutsu training translating perfectly to his alien physiology. He countered with a crystal-enhanced uppercut that sent one attacker crashing into the portal equipment. The dimensional gateway flared dangerously, discharging energy in chaotic bursts. One blast struck a nearby sound ninja, who screamed as his body began to destabilize. Parts of him seemingly existing in multiple places simultaneously. The portal's collapsing, Azimuth shouted. It's becoming unstable. Sakura had freed 3 sound ninja from their control collars but found herself surrounded by Tetraman warriors. With a battle cry, she slammed her fist into the ground, her perfect chakra control creating a shockwave that fractured the earth beneath their feet. The massive alien staggered, giving her the opening to extract her patience from danger. The Tetraman commander flung Ben aside with tremendous force, then activated a device on his gauntlet. Protocol Omega, secure the technology. The remaining invaders immediately disengaged, racing to collect pieces of the portal equipment despite the collapsing gateway. Their disciplined response spoke of extensive training and clear priorities. The technology was apparently more valuable than holding the position. They're retreating, Ben called, recovering from being thrown against the cliff face. We need to capture one for questioning. Naruto assessed the situation rapidly. The portal was destabilizing, potentially creating a more dangerous situation if it collapsed catastrophically. The freed sound ninja needed medical attention, and the Tetramans were escaping with vital technology. Decision time. Sakura, stabilize the wounded. He ordered. Ben, help me capture their commander. Without waiting for acknowledgement, Naruto charged toward the Tetraman leader, who was directing the technology retrieval. He formed a shadow clone, an ability he discovered still worked in his transformed state, and together they created a swirling crystal construct between them, infused with wind nature chakra. Crystal Rasengan, Naruto called out, driving the devastating technique toward the commander. The Tetraman turned just in time to see the attack coming. With surprising speed for his bulk, he activated a shield device that absorbed the initial impact. But Naruto's technique continued to grind against the defense, the rotating crystals gradually overwhelming the alien technology. With a satisfying crack, the shield failed, and the crystal Rasengan connected with the commander's armor. The impact sent him flying backward, his massive body carving a trench through the rocky ground before coming to rest at the base of Madara's statue. Ben had transformed again, now appearing as a phantom-like alien with a single eye and chains wrapped around his form. Ghost freak. I'll make sure he doesn't go anywhere. The spectral being phased into the Tetraman's body, temporarily possessing it to prevent escape. The remaining invaders, seeing their leader captured, redoubled their efforts to retrieve the technology before diving back through the destabilizing portal. Within moments, they had vanished, taking most of the equipment with them. Secure the commander, Azimuth instructed, hurrying toward the faltering portal. I need to stabilize this breach before it collapses catastrophically. Sakura had moved the freed sound ninja to safety and now joined Naruto beside the captured commander. The mind control technology is embedded in their neural systems, she reported after a quick examination. More sophisticated than the collars used on the humans. Ben emerged from the Tetraman's body, reverting to human form. He was fighting it the whole time I was in there. Whatever's controlling him is powerful. Naruto reverted to his human form as well, conserving the Omnitrix's power. Can you remove it, Sakura? She frowned, studying the alien physiology. Not without proper equipment and more knowledge of their biology. We need to get him back to Konoha. The dimensional portal pulsed violently, discharging energy that scorched the surrounding landscape. Azimuth worked feverishly with salvaged components, attempting to control the collapse. I've almost got it, the Galvan called. Another moment, a final surge of energy erupted from the portal before it imploded with a thunderous crack, leaving nothing but scorched earth and the lingering scent of ozone. Azimuth picked himself up, clutching a small device that blinked with stored data. Got what I needed, he announced. The portal's signature is recorded. We can track its origin point now. Naruto helped Sakura secure the unconscious Tetraman commander. With specialized restraints Azimuth had provided. So Orochimaru's people were being controlled too. They weren't willing collaborators. Someone's pulling strings on both sides of the dimensional divide, Ben observed grimly. Question is, who benefits from creating these breaches? And why target Shinobi specifically? Sakura added, gesturing to the sound ninja who were beginning to regain consciousness. Their chakra networks show signs of extensive drainage, as if something was siphoning their energy to power the portal. Naruto's communicator activated with Shikamaru's voice. Naruto, come in. We've got a situation at the eastern breach point. Sasuke and Ino encountered resistance. They're requesting backup. On our way, Naruto responded. Sakura, can you handle transport for our prisoner and the sound ninja? She nodded. I'll request a medical team for extraction. Go. Naruto and Ben exchanged determined looks before activating their respective Omnitrixes once more. The eastern forest was ablaze when they arrived. Trees older than the village itself burned with unnatural purple flames that resisted conventional water jutsu attempts to extinguish them. Sasuke stood at the center of a scorched clearing, his sword drawn and crackling with lightning chakra. Beside him, Ino maintained a defensive position, her normally immaculate appearance disheveled from combat. Several unconscious or restrained opponents lay scattered around them, some human, others decidedly not. About time, Sasuke greeted them, not taking his eyes off the dimensional breach fluctuating before them. Unlike the valley portal, this one was smaller but emitting pulses of energy that ignited anything they touched. What happened? Naruto asked, assessing the situation. Sound ninja. We're attempting to stabilize the breach using chakra harvesting technology, Ino reported professionally. They were being directed by those. She pointed to two unconscious aliens, gray-skinned humanoids with enlarged craniums and spindly limbs. Cerebrocrustacea, Ben identified, highly intelligent psychic species. They must have been controlling the sound ninja mentally. Not just controlling them, Sasuke added grimly. Draining them. 3 were already dead when we arrived, their chakra networks completely collapsed. A pained groan drew their attention to one of the restrained sound ninja. Ino knelt beside him, her medical training evident as she checked his vital signs. This one's still coherent, she informed them. I performed a partial mind transfer to extract information before you arrived. They were promised power by someone claiming to be an emissary of Orochimaru, but it wasn't him. The real puppet master remains hidden. Did you get any useful intelligence? Naruto pressed. Ino's expression darkened. They're targeting specific chakra types. The technology they're using requires fire nature chakra to stabilize these breaches, which is why they recruited Primar. Aili from the Sound Village, Orochimaru collected shinobi with fire affinity. The dimensional breach pulsed again, more violently than before. Ben transformed into a crystalline form similar to Naruto's Diamond Head but with green coloration. Diamond Head. We need to contain this before it destroys the entire forest. Naruto nodded, selecting a different transformation from his Omnitrix. In a flash of orange light, he transformed into a massive, white-furred humanoid with powerful limbs and an expression of primal ferocity, Artigrata, a polar manzardil from the frozen planet Mycadielde. Let's see if this works. Naruto growled through elongated canines. He extended his clawed hands toward the breach, instinctively channeling his ice-natured transformations abilities. A blast of freezing energy erupted from his palms, encasing the fluctuating portal in a thick layer of ice. To everyone's surprise, the ice didn't melt. Instead, it seemed to stabilize the breach, slowing its erratic pulsations. The extreme cold is reducing the molecular excitement causing the instability, Asmith observed, having arrived on Ben's shoulder. Excellent improvisation, Naruto. Sasuke studied Naruto's transformed state with his Sharingan. Your chakra is still visible within that form, but it's changed, adapted to the alien physiology. Interesting. Ben reinforced Naruto's efforts, creating crystal structures that channeled and contained the breach's energy. Working together, they gradually forced the dimensional tear to contract, eventually collapsing it entirely with a final surge of combined power. As the immediate danger passed, Naruto reverted to human form, shaking slightly from the exertion. That was more difficult than the valley breach. These things are getting stronger. Or we're getting weaker, Ino suggested pragmatically. Each breach drains more resources and spreads our forces thinner. We need to take the offensive, Sasuke stated, sheathing his sword. Reactive defense will eventually fail. Ben nodded in agreement. Finding the source of these breaches is priority 1. We need to shut them down at the origin point. Ino approached Ben, professional curiosity evident in her expression. Your transformations, they're completely different from our transformation jutsu. There's no chakra involved at all, is there? Nope, Ben confirmed. Pure alien DNA, temporarily overriding my human genetics, courtesy of the Omnitrix. Fascinating, Ino murmured, studying him with new interest. In our world, transformations always carry traces of the original chakra signature. Yours is a complete metamorphosis. It has advantages and disadvantages, Ben replied with a shrug. I can't use your jutsu techniques, but my transformations don't drain chakra either. Speaking of which, Naruto interjected, noting the Omnitrix on his wrist blinking orange rather than its usual steady glow. I think I need to recharge. This thing has a power limit. The modified Omnitrix draws partially from your chakra network, Asmith explained. Extensive use will deplete both its energy core and your personal reserves. A safety mechanism to prevent overexertion. Asuke's attention had shifted to the captured aliens. What do we do with them? Take them back for questioning, Naruto decided. Between Ino's mind techniques and Ibiki's interrogation skills, we might extract useful intelligence. The group gathered their prisoners and prepared to return to Konoha. As they moved through the burned forest, Ino fell into step beside Ben, her initial curiosity evolving into genuine interest. So in your world, she began conversationally, are you some kind of special forces operative? Your combat techniques suggest formal training. Ben chuckled. Nothing that official. I was just a kid who found the Omnitrix by accident. The training came later, mostly through trial and error, and a lot of mistakes. Humble, Ino noted with approval. Refreshing, compared to some of our more vocal shinobi. She glanced meaningfully at Naruto, who was arguing with Sasuke several paces ahead. What about you? Ben asked. Mind transfer jutsu sounds pretty specialized. Family technique, Ino explained. The Yamanaka clan specializes in mental jutsu. I'm also a medical nin and interrogation specialist. In our world, most shinobi develop multiple specialties. Versatile, Ben observed. I rely mostly on the Omnitrix, though I've picked up some hand-to-hand combat skills over the years. Perhaps we could train together sometime, Ino suggested. I could show you some basic chakra theory, and you could demonstrate more of your transformations. For tactical purposes, of course. Ben smiled, recognizing the subtle flirtation beneath the professional veneer. For tactical purposes, definitely. Ahead of them, Naruto noticed the interaction and grinned to himself. Even interdimensional crises couldn't suppress certain human constants. Konoha Intelligence Division had never hosted such an unusual prisoner. The Tetraman commander occupied a reinforced cell designed for containing S-rank ninja, modified with technology Asmith had P. Rovided to neutralize any alien abilities. Despite his massive size and fearsome appearance, the four-armed warrior had maintained dignified silence since his capture. Ibiki Morino, Konoha's head of interrogation, stood outside the cell with Tsunade, Naruto, and Sakura, reviewing the medical findings. The control technology is integrated with his central nervous system, Sakura explained, displaying scans on a tablet-like device. Removing it surgically would likely be fatal without more knowledge of Tetraman physiology. Can we disable it without removal? Tsunade questioned. Azimuth, who had been examining the scans, nodded thoughtfully. Possible. The neural interface appears to operate on standard Galvan principles, which means I can likely create a dampening field to suppress its functions temporarily. Do it, Tsunade ordered. We need information more than we need a prisoner. While Azimuth worked, Naruto observed the Tetraman through the cell's observation window. Despite being their enemy, something about the warrior's stoic bearing earned his respect. This wasn't a mindless soldier but a proud fighter forced to serve against his will. What's his name? Naruto asked suddenly. The others looked at him in surprise. What? Naruto shrugged. He's a person, not just a prisoner. He has a name. Ibiki consulted his notes. According to the preliminary scan of his armor insignia, he's designated as Commander Koros of the Tetraman 5th Battle Legion. Naruto nodded. Commander Koros. Good to know. Azimuth completed his work on a small device, which he handed to Ibiki. This will disrupt the control signal for approximately 30 minutes. Be precise with your questioning. We cannot risk extended deactivation until we understand more about the technology. Ibiki accepted the device with a grim nod. Understood. They entered the cell together. The Tetraman's four eyes tracked their movement, though he remained seated on the reinforced bench that served as his bed. Up close, his size was even more impressive, nearly 10 feet tall even while seated, with musculature that spoke of a lifetime of combat training. Commander Koros, Tsunade addressed him directly. I am Tsunade, leader of this village. We believe you are being controlled against your will. We're going to temporarily disable that control so we can speak freely. The Tetraman's expression didn't change, but a flicker of something, hope, perhaps, passed through his eyes. Azimuth activated the disruption device. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Commander Koros gasped, his massive body convulsing briefly before he regained control. When he looked up again, his eyes held clear intelligence and fierce anger, but not directed at his captors. Thank you, he rumbled, his deep voice accented but understandable. How long do I have? 30 minutes before the control reasserts itself, Azimuth explained. Make them count. Koros nodded gratefully. My legion was captured D3 lunar cycles ago during an expedition to the Anor system. We encountered what we thought was a disabled Chimera sui generis vessel. It was a trap. Chimera sui generis? Naruto questioned. Vilgax's species, Azimuth clarified, his expression darkening. Continue, Commander. The ship contained no Chimera sui generis, but rather a hybrid technology I had never encountered, part mechanical, part biological, and part something else, energy-based, similar to what your kind call chakra, but corrupted somehow. Koros flexed his four hands, as if reassuring himself of his temporary freedom. We were overwhelmed, captured, and fitted with neural controllers. Since then, we have served as shock troops for dimensional incursions across multiple worlds. Who controls you? Tsunade pressed. Who is behind these attacks? We know him only as the architect, Koros replied grimly. He appears human but possesses powers beyond any I have witnessed. He can move between dimensions at will, without technology, and manipulate the energy of each world he visits. A human with dimensional travel abilities. Ibiki's scarred face creased with skepticism. That's impossible. Not entirely, Azimuth mused. Certain human bloodlines in various dimensions have developed unique abilities. The Tennyson family's connection to anodite energy is one example. This architect, Naruto interjected. What does he want with our world specifically? Koros looked directly at Naruto, his four eyes narrowing. Your energy, chakra. It is unique among the dimensions we have invaded. The Architect believes it can be weaponized in ways other energy forms cannot. He seeks to harvest it, refine it, and use it to power something he calls the convergence. The convergence, Sakura repeated. What is that? A device, or perhaps a process? I am not privy to all details, Koros admitted. But its purpose is to merge selected dimensions permanently, creating a new reality under the architect's control. The implications stunned everyone into momentary silence. Merging dimensions would cause catastrophic instability, Asmith finally stated, his normally composed demeanor shaken. Less lives would be lost in the process. The architect views this as necessary sacrifice, Koros said bitterly. He speaks of creating a perfect world from the ashes of many. Classic megalomaniac, Naruto muttered. They're always trying to destroy everything to make something perfect. Tsunade had been listening intently, her tactical mind processing the information. Commander, do you know where this architect is based? From which dimension he operates? Koros shook his massive head. The control technology prevents us from retaining certain information. I know only that the primary base shifts frequently between dimensions. What about the technology being used to create these breaches? Ibiki pressed. What powers it? Harvested chakra, Koros replied, disgust evident in his tone. Extracted from captured shinobi and processed through hybrid technology that combines Galvan-dimensional theory with something the architect calls curse mark science. Tsunade and Sakura exchanged alarmed glances. Orochimaru is definitely involved, Sakura concluded. Curse marks are his specialty. But working with an interdimensional being? Tsunade frowned. That's beyond even his usual ambition. Asmith checked his device. 5 minutes remaining before the disruption fails. Naruto stepped forward, addressing Koros directly. Commander, if we remove this control technology, will you help us fight against the architect? Your knowledge could be invaluable. The Tetraman warrior studied Naruto with newfound respect. You wear the Omnitrix, he observed. On my world, the wielder of that device is known as both hero and warrior. If you can free me and my warriors, we will fight alongside you until our last breath. This I swear on my honor as a Tetraman commander. We'll find a way, Naruto promised. Believe it. As the disruption device's effect began to wane, Koros straightened to his full height, assuming a formal military posture. One last piece of information before I lose control again. The architect is not working alone. He has allies in your world, willing ones, not controlled. Listen for the sound beneath the sound. That is all I can. His body suddenly stiffened, eyes glazing over as the control technology reasserted itself. The proud warrior vanished, replaced by the empty-eyed soldier they had captured. Sound beneath the sound, Ibiki repeated as they exited the cell. What does that mean? A riddle, Tsunade mused. Or a clue, or both, Naruto suggested. But it confirms Orochimaru's involvement. Sound could refer to the Sound Village. We need more information, Tsunade decided. And we need to find a way to disable this control technology permanently without harming the Tetramans. Asmith nodded thoughtfully. With the data gathered from this session, I can begin working on a more permanent solution. But it will take time we may not have if these breaches continue to increase in frequency and power. As they left the intelligence division, Naruto found himself contemplating Commander Koros's plight. A proud warrior forced to serve as a puppet for someone else's ambitions, it struck uncomfortable. Why close to home for someone who had grown up with the 9 tails sealed within him? We'll free them, he promised silently. All of them. Tenten's workshop had always been a place of innovation, where traditional shinobi weapons met creative engineering. Now, it had transformed into something far more exotic. Alien technology salvaged from the dimensional breaches mingled with scrolls and kunai, creating a strange hybrid laboratory that perfectly encapsulated their current crisis. She leaned over a workbench, magnifying goggles pushed up on her forehead as she carefully disassembled what appeared to be an energy weapon recovered from one of the Tetraman soldiers. Beside her, various tools lay arranged in precise order, some familiar, others clearly of alien origin. Careful with the power cell, Ben advised, watching from a safe distance. Tetraman weapons pack quite a punch. So I've noticed, Tenten replied dryly, indicating a scorch mark on the far wall, evidence of an earlier mishap. But the integration of energy projection with physical components is fascinating. Our chakra weapons work on completely different principles. Ben approached, genuinely impressed by her methodical approach. You've got a good eye for this. Reminds me of my grandfather, He could take apart and reassemble any alien tech he found. It's just applied engineering, Tenten said modestly. Though she couldn't hide her pleasure at the compliment. Once you understand the basic principles, the specific implementation is just details. Most people would be overwhelmed by technology centuries beyond their world's development, Ben pointed out. Tenten shrugged, carefully extracting the weapon's power core, a crystalline structure pulsing with energy. Shinobi adapt or die. Besides, some of this isn't as advanced as it looks. The power delivery system here is actually simpler than chakra channeling through specialized paper tags. The workshop door slid open, admitting Naruto and Hinata. They'd clearly come directly from training. Naruto's jacket was singed in several places, while Hinata's normally immaculate appearance showed signs of intense exertion. Please tell me you've made progress, Naruto greeted, collapsing dramatically onto a stool. I've spent the last 4 hours trying to master Heatblast's nuclear core without melting the training ground. With impressive results, Hinata added supportively. You've nearly doubled the controlled output since yesterday. Tenten carefully set the power core in a specialized containment unit before addressing them. Quote, I've been reverse engineering the weapon's technology. There's something unusual about how they interact with chakra. She gestured to a series of diagrams pinned to the wall. These aren't just energy weapons, they're designed specifically to disrupt and absorb chakra on contact. Weaponized chakra drainage, Hinata observed, studying the diagrams with her Byakugan briefly activated. Similar to what we saw in the Sound Ninja. But more refined. Exactly, Tenten confirmed. But here's where it gets interesting. She retrieved a scroll from beneath the workbench, unrolling it to reveal complex seal formulations. These patterns appeared when I exposed the weapon components to chakra paper. Recognize them. Naruto leaned forward, eyes widening in recognition. That's a variation of Orochimaru's curse mark formula. Combined with what appears to be Galvan technology, Ben added grimly. Your Orochimaru guy has been sharing notes with someone from my universe. But who? Hinata questioned. And how did they make contact across dimensions before the breaches began? The question hung in the air, unanswered but urgent. Tenten carefully resealed the scroll. There's more. I've been analyzing the communication devices recovered from the Tetramans. They contain coordinates, dimensional coordinates, for multiple worlds, including one that doesn't match any in Azimuth's database. The Architect's base, Naruto suggested. Possibly, Tenten agreed, but we can't be certain without more information. Ben activated his Omnitrix, scrolling through the holographic display of alien forms. Gray matter might be able to make sense of this. His Galvan intelligence should help us decode these coordinates. In a flash of green light, Ben transformed into a tiny gray alien with an oversized head, the same species as Azimuth, though notably younger and wearing the Omnitrix symbol on his back. Gray matter, the diminutive form announced in a high-pitched, intelligent voice. Now let's see what we're dealing with. Gray matter scampered onto the workbench, examining the disassembled technology with remarkable speed and precision. His tiny hands manipulated components 2SM, all for human fingers to handle effectively, reassembling and reconfiguring circuits with intuitive understanding. Fascinating, he muttered. The dimensional localization matrix has been modified to resonate specifically with chakra frequencies. Quite brilliant, actually, if morally reprehensible. Hinata observed the transformation with interest. Your entire thought process changes with each form, doesn't it? Not just physical abilities. Correct, Gray matter replied without looking up from his work. Galvan cognitive patterns emphasize analytical processing and technical innovation. Each species has intellectual predispositions that accompany their physical attributes. That must be disorienting, Hinata observed sympathetically. You get used to it, Gray matter assured her, connecting several components together. Aha, I've isolated the tracking function. These coordinates aren't just destinations, they're monitoring points. This device was tracking dimensional stress levels across multiple realities. Stress levels, Naruto repeated, like measuring how much pressure the barriers between worlds can take before breaking. Precisely, Gray matter confirmed, impressed by Naruto's quick understanding. Someone is systematically testing dimensional boundaries, looking for weak points, or creating them deliberately. Tenten retrieved a map she'd been working on, spreading it across a side table. I've been plotting the breach locations around Konoha. They form a pattern, equidistant points around the village, forming a perfect hexagon. A containment formation, Hinata realized. Or extraction points for a massive chakra drain. Gray matter leapt from the workbench to examine the map, his tiny form scurrying across the paper with surprising agility. Yes, classic Galvan harvesting configuration. These aren't random attack points, they're components of a massive energy collection array. So the attacks aren't just about invasion, Naruto concluded grimly. They're setting up equipment to drain chakra from the entire village at once. Or worse, Gray matter theorized, pointing to the center of the hexagon, directly beneath the Hokage monument. This central point would be where the dimensional membrane is thinnest. If they establish a major breach here, they could potentially pull the entire village into another dimension. The implicati on stunned everyone into momentary silence. We need to warn Lady Tsunade, Hinata said urgently. And prepare countermeasures, Tenten added, already gathering her specialized weapons. Gray Matt R reverted to human form in a flash of green light. Ben stumbled slightly, the sudden change in perspective momentarily disorienting. The Galvan intelligence fades when I transform back, he explained, noticing their concerned looks. But I remember the conclusions. We need to establish defensive positions at each of these points in the center immediately. Naruto was already moving toward the door. I'll alert the Hokage and assemble the response teams. Hinata, contact Neji and the other Hyuga. We'll need their Byakugan to monitor chakra fluctuations around the perimeter. Tenten, bring whatever countermeasures you've developed. Ben, I know my job, Ben assured him with a confident smile. Hero time. As they hurried to implement their plan, Tenten quickly packed essential equipment into scrolls. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, but her mind raced with implications beyond the immediate threat. The alien technology she'd been studying represented possibilities beyond any thing in Shinobi history, for better or worse. Thinking about applications beyond the current crisis, Ben asked perceptively, helping her secure larger components. Tenten hesitated, then nodded. Is that wrong? This technology could revolutionize everything: medical treatment, transportation, communication. But it could also create weapons beyond imagination. It's not wrong to think ahead, Ben assured her. My grandfather always said that technology itself isn't good or evil, it depends on who's using it and why. The fact that you're concerned about the implications puts you ahead of most people who encounter alien tech. Your grandfather sounds wise, Tenten remarked, slipping the last scroll into her equipment pouch. He was, Ben agreed with a fond smile. Best plumber in the Galaxy and the best grandfather anyone could ask for. He would have liked you, practical, adaptable, and not afraid to take apart alien tech to see how it works. Tenten found herself returning his smile, appreciating both the compliment and the moment of connection amidst the crisis. I would have liked to meet him. Maybe someday I'll tell you more about him, Ben offered as they headed for the door. Assuming we save the world first. Deal, Tenten agreed. Saving the world first, stories later. The Hokage monument overlooked Konoha as it had for generations, stone faces watching impassively as the village below prepared for yet another threat. Now, however, the monument itself had become the focal point of their defense strategy. Tsunade stood at the base of the monument, directing Shinobi to strategic positions based on Tenten's hexagonal map. Anbu operatives established perimeter sensors at each point, while medical teams prepared for potential casualties. Status report, she demanded as Naruto, Ben, and the others arrived. The pattern is confirmed, Naruto reported immediately. 6 breach points forming a hexagon with the monument at its center. According to Ben's analysis, they're creating an extraction array to drain chakra from the entire village, or worse, pull it into another dimension entirely. Tsunade's expression hardened. Evacuation protocols are already underway for civilians. How much time do we have? Based on the energy readings from Azimuth's sensors, less than 3 hours, Ben supplied. The dimensional stress is increasing exponentially. And our defensive options? Tsunade pressed. Tenten stepped forward, unrolling a scroll to reveal a complex seal formation integrated with alien components. I've modified the village's XC sting barrier seals to disrupt the specific frequencies used by the dimensional technology. It won't prevent breaches completely, but it should destabilize their formation. Shikamaru is coordinating G defensive positions with Kakashi and Guy's teams, Shizune added, appearing with a stack of communication scrolls. Specialized units are being deployed to each breach point, with instructions to destroy any technology they encounter. Tsunade nodded approvingly. And our offensive strategy. That's where we come in, Naruto said, gesturing to himself and Ben. We'll target the central breach point when it forms. With the modified Omnitrix, I can disrupt the dimensional energy directly while Ben provides backup. I don't like putting all our hopes on experimental technology, Tsunade frowned. Neither do I, Asmith interjected, appearing from behind Shizune. Which is why I've prepared alternatives. The diminutive alien presented a series of small devices. Dimensional anchors. Place these at strategic points around the village. They'll help stabilize our reality even if the breaches form successfully. As Tsunade distributed assignments, Ino approached the group, her expression unusually serious. The mind scanning of the captured sound ninja is complete. There's something you all need to know. What is it? Naruto prompted when she hesitated. They weren't just working with the aliens. Ino revealed grimly. They were experimenting on themselves, trying to integrate alien DNA with their chakra networks manually, without an Omnitrix. That's incredibly dangerous, Asmith stated, alarmed. Without the Omnitrix's stabilizing functions, such integration would be catastrophic for their cellular structure. It was, Ino confirmed. Most subjects died horribly. They kept trying because they were promised power beyond anything in our world. By Orochimaru, Sakura questioned, having joined the group midway through Ino's report. No, Ino shook her head. By someone they referred to only as the Celestial One. Someone who claimed to be neither human nor alien, but something beyond both. Ben and Asmith exchanged troubled glances. A celestial sapien, Ben suggested quietly. Impossible, Asmith muttered, though he sounded uncertain. They don't interfere in lesser dimensions this way. What's a celestial sapien? Naruto asked. The most powerful species in my universe. Ben explained. Reality warpers who can alter the fundamental laws of existence with a thought. But they're bound by strict rules and internal debates that usually prevent them from taking direct action. Usually, Asmith emphasized, there have been exceptions. Before the conversation could continue, alarms sounded throughout the village. The distinctive 3-2 Nay pattern indicated dimensional disturbances detected at multiple points. It's starting, Tsunade announced grimly. Earlier than predicted. Everyone to your positions. As they dispersed to their assigned locations, Naruto found himself at the base of the Hokage monument alongside Ben, Hinata, and Sakura. Their position gave them a clear view of the village and all 6 perimeter points where breaches were expected to form. I should be at one of the perimeter points, Sakura protested. My strength would be more useful there. Your medical expertise is needed here, Naruto countered. Quote, if this central point is as important as we think, casualties will be highest in this location. Hinata activated her Byakugan, scanning the surrounding area. Energy fluctuations are increasing at all 6 points simultaneously. The pattern is forming exactly as predicted. Ben checked his Omnitrix, ensuring it was fully charged. Any preference on which alien to start with? Something with energy manipulation, Naruto suggested. Studying his own Omnitrix options. I'm thinking feedback might work well here. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, the first physical manifestation of He-dimensional stress building around them. In the distance, flashes of light marked the perimeter points where breaches were beginning to form. It's happening faster than we anticipated, Hinata reported, her Byakugan tracking the energy patterns. The breaches are stabilizing almost immediately. Someone's helping them from this side. Can you locate the source? Naruto asked urgently. Hinata concentrated, extending her visual range to its limits. There's chakra being channeled from somewhere beneath us, beneath the monument itself. The old emergency bunkers, Sakura realized. They extend deep into the mountain. Naruto made a split-second decision. Change of plans. Ben, you handle the defense here with Sakura. Hinata and I will investigate the chakra source. Ben nodded without hesitation. Go. We've got this covered. As Naruto and Hinata rushed toward the monument's maintenance entrance, the first major breach erupted at the northeastern perimeter point. A swirling vortex, X of purple and green energy tore open the sky, disgorging mechanical constructs that immediately began establishing a perimeter. Those aren't Tetramans, Ben observed grimly. Tekadon robots, mass-produced war machines. This just got a lot more complicated. Sakura pulled on her combat gloves, expression determined. I've faced worse odds. Ben smiled despite the gravity of the situation. Quote, I'm starting to really like this dimension. He activated the Omnitrix, transforming into a massive, silicon-based life form with crystalline spikes protruding from his back and shoulders. Chromastone. Let's show these robots what happens when they mess with the wrong village. The tunnels beneath the Hokage monument had existed since the village's founding, emergency shelters designed to protect civilians during attacks. Now, they lay largely abandoned, used primarily for storage and as emergency evacuation routes. As Naruto and Hinata descended deeper, the air grew cold and stale, undisturbed for years. The chakra signature is stronger here, Hinata whispered, her Byakugan penetrating the darkness. 3 levels down, in the old Anbu detention area. Naruto nodded, activating the Omnitrix. I'm thinking stealth might be our best approach. He selected a form and transformed in a flash of orange light. Where Naruto had stood now crouched a sleek, reptilian humanoid with black K skin covered in blue circuit-like patterns. A helmet with a single central eye completed the transformation. Chom alien, a Merlinicipian with adaptive camouflage abilities. Perfect, his voice hissed softly. Lead the way, Hinata. They moved silently through the abandoned corridors, Naruto's transformed state rendering him nearly invisible in the shadows. Hinata navigated with the precision only a Byakugan user could achieve, identifying potential threats before they materialized. 2 guards ahead, she warned. Not human. Their chakra networks are artificial, mechanical. Naruto nodded, his camouflage abilities intensifying until he virtually disappeared. I'll handle them. Stay back. He slipped forward, moving with reptilian grace enhanced by years of shinobi training. The guards, humanoid robots with sound village headbands, stood at attention outside a reinforced door. Their eyes glowed with unnatural purple light, scanning the corridor systematically. Naruto approached from behind, his tail now visible as a weapon rather than a mere appendage. With 2 precise strikes, he disabled the robots, targeting joint connections his alien instincts identified as vulnerable points. Clear, he whispered, returning to visibility as Hinata approached. She examined the door with her Byakugan. There's a powerful chakra signature inside, and something else. Energy patterns I've never seen before, even with the dimensional breaches. Can you see who's in there? Hinata concentrated, pushing her visual prowess to its limits. 1 human figure, surrounded by technology. It's Kabuto. Orochimaru's right hand, Naruto hissed. That confirms the sound connection. He transformed back to human form, the stealth no longer necessary now that they'd found their target. We need to stop whatever he's doing immediately. Wait, Hinata cautioned. There's something wrong with his chakra network. It's been modified somehow, integrated with technology similar to what we saw in the Tetraman Commander. Is he being controlled too? No, Hinata shook her head. This is different. The modifications appear voluntary, enhancing rather than suppressing. Naruto considered their options. We still need to stop him. Ready, Hinata nodded, shifting into her gentle fist stance. With a synchronized attack, they breached the reinforced door. Naruto led with a street. Andard Rasengan. No alien enhancement needed for the initial entry. The door disintegrated under the swirling chakra sphere's impact, revealing a laboratory filled with glowing equipment that married forbidden jutsu with alien technology. In the center stood Kabuto Yakushi, Orochimaru's longtime assistant and spy. His appearance had changed dramatically since their last encounter. Parts of his body now incorporated visible technology, with circuit-like patterns running beneath his skin and a mechanical enhancement replacing his right eye. Naruto Uzumaki, Kabuto greeted with artificial calm. Right on schedule. My calculations predicted your arrival within a 3-minute window. Your efficiency is commendable, Kabuto. Naruto responded warily. What have you done to yourself? Evolved, Kabuto replied simply. Lord Orochimaru sought knowledge of all jutsu in this world. I have expanded that vision to include all technologies across all dimensions. You're helping create these breaches, Hinata stated. Her Byakugan analyzing the equipment surrounding them, channeling chakra to stabilize them from this side. Perceptive as always, Lady Hyuga, Kabuto acknowledged with a small bow. The architect requires anchor points in each target dimension. I provided the necessary expertise regarding chakra networks. Why? Naruto demanded. Why help someone who wants to drain our world's chakra and possibly destroy it entirely? Kabuto adjusted his glasses, one lens now replaced with a glowing purple scanner. Destruction. No. Transformation. The convergence will create a RFECT synthesis of multiple realities, including the best elements of each. Your perspective is limited by conventional dimensional thinking. And Orochimaru approves of this plan. Naruto pressed UBTLY, activating his Omnitrix as he spoke. Lord Orochimaru sees the potential, Kabuto confirmed. Imagine a world where chakra and alien technology coexist by design, not accident. Where the limitations of human biology are transcended through perfect integration with superior lifeforms. Like what you've done to yourself, Hinata observed. Those modifications are killing you, Kabuto. Your chakra network is breaking down at the cellular level. For the first time, Kabuto's composure faltered slightly. A necessary sacrifice for progress. This prototype integration is merely the first step. Naruto had heard enough. He slammed his palm down on the Omnitrix, transforming into a massive, plant-like humanoid with a flame-patterned head and thick vines for arms. Swampfire, a Methanogen. With regenerative abilities and control over plants. We're shutting this down, Kabuto, Naruto's transformed voice rumbled. Now, Kabuto smiled thinly. You're welcome to try, Naruto. But the process has already begun. The dimensional coordinates are locked, the chakra flow established. The convergence approaches. Hinata moved with blinding speed, her gentle fist targeting the machinery rather than Kabuto himself. With precise chakra-enhanced strikes, she disabled 3 control panels before Kabuto could respond. Impressive, Kabuto acknowledged, his mechanical eye whirring as it adjusted to track her movements. But futile. Quote, he formed a complex series of hand seals, too fast for normal eyes to follow, and slammed his palm against the central console. The entire chamber hummed with power as chakra visibly flowed from his body into the machinery. You're sacrificing yourself, Naruto realized, extending his plant-like arms toward the equipment. Vines erupted from his limbs, wrapping around critical components and beginning to crush them. Ascension requires sacrifice, Kabuto replied calmly, even as blood began to seep from his eyes and nose, evidence of his chakra network's catastrophic failure. The architect explained this principle quite thoroughly. Hinata struck again, this time targeting Kabuto directly. Her gentle fist technique sought to disrupt the chakra flow between him and the machinery. To her shock, her strike passed through him as if he were merely an illusion. A projection, she gasped. A precaution, Kabuto corrected. My physical form is elsewhere, completing the final preparations. This projection allows me to monitor your predictable intervention. The machinery suddenly pulsed with blinding light. The floor beneath them trembled as energy surged through the complex. What have you done? Naruto demanded, his swampfire form intensifying the flames on his head and shoulders in response to the threat. Accelerated the timeline, Kabuto answered simply. The convergence begins now. Thank you for the final catalyst. The Omnitrix's energy signature was the missing component. The architect will be pleased. The projection flickered and vanished, leaving Naruto and Hinata alone amidst the humming machinery. We need to destroy this equipment, Naruto decided, transforming his hands into clusters of explosive seed pods. Stand back. Hinata retreated to the doorway as Naruto unleashed a barrage of natural explosives from his transformed body. The seed pods detonated against the alien chakra hybrid technology, creating cascading failures throughout the system. Alarms blared as the complex began to destabilize. Smoke filled the chamber, acrid and thick with the scent of burning circuitry and scorched chakra paper. Did it work? Hinata called through the smoke, her Byakugan struggling to penetrate the chakra-infused haze. Naruto reverted to human form, conserving the Omnitrix's energy. I don't know. We need to get back to the surface. They raced through the tunnels, the structure around them groaning as dimensional energy interfered with the physical laws holding it together. Parts of the corridor seemed to phase in and out of existence, while others stretched or compressed as if reality itself had become malleable. The dimensional barriers are breaking down, Hinata called out, her Byakugan tracking the spreading disruption. The entire monument is becoming unstable. They emerged into daylight, or what should have been daylight. Instead, the sky above Konoha had transformed into a swirling vortex of competing realities. Fragments of alien landscapes flickered in and out of existence throughout the village. The 6 perimeter breach points had expanded, connecting to form a perfect hexagonal barrier around Konoha. At the center, directly above the Hokage monument, a massive dimensional rift was forming, larger and more stable than any they had encountered before. "We're too late," Hinata whispered in horror. "The convergence has begun." Naruto's expression hardened with determination. "No, it's never too late." He activated his communicator. "Ben, Sakura, report. What's happening out there?" "Multiple breaches, all stable." Ben's voice crackled through the device. "Tekkadan robots everywhere, and something else coming through the central rift. We need backup." "On our way," Naruto confirmed, already activating his Omnitrix again. "Hinata, alert Tsunade. Tell her Kabuto was the catalyst, working with someone called the Architect. We need every available shinobi at the monument." Hinata nodded, already moving to relay the message. "Be careful, Naruto." He transformed into XLR8, his version distinctively modified with orange patterning and fox-like features melded with the velociraptor form. "Always he called back before accelerating toward the central breach at unnatural speed. The battle for Konoha, and perhaps all reality, had entered its most critical phase. Chapter 2 End. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.